So when Ohio State brought in Quinshon Judkins, along with the return of Travion Henderson, it brought up some interesting conversations about, man, the top of the running back room is great. The bottom of it, not so much, right? Now, you were wondering how much could they do with these running backs while also making sure that they got both of those guys through the regular season. And now it feels like that 2 is turning into 3. I'm Steven, that's Andrew, that's Stefan Krajisnik. Andrew, I want to start with you. The way that Chip Kelly, Ryan Day, and all these guys have been talking about James Peoples, does it make you feel more comfortable about where the running back room is as it heads back into the season and heads back onto the field against Marshall on Saturday?
Yeah, how could it not? I think James Peoples has looked very, very good. He's looked comfortable. He's looked physical. He's looked quick when he gets the ball. I think there's a lot to like about him, especially that, oh, by the way, he's 2 games into his college career, right? Like, we're not talking about him going 3rd year, you got to see something here, 4th year, got to, like that's not where we're at. We're saying that he's playing really well, and I don't think we're saying he's playing really well for a freshman. I think we're just saying he's come in and done well with the reps that he's been given. So it absolutely makes you feel really good about where the depth is, because you never want to guess on injuries, but you do want to say that you're probably going to have some eventually. You're probably going to have something pop up. And where were we 4 weeks ago, where we were saying, all right, like, let's say Quinshon tweaks an ankle or Travion tweaks an ankle. What do you got? You got 1, maybe 2, and then you don't know. And I think right now you feel really good about 1 and 2, obviously, but James Peoples is making you feel really comfortable with that 3rd option. Then you get down to your 4th running back. I mean, how many programs in the country are looking at their 4th running back being like, this guy can start. This guy could be our number 1 and we'll have no problem. So I think James Peoples has really kind of elevated this offense and really kind of given them something that they kind of low-key needed going into this season. And I think it's been a big benefit to the offense. I think you're going to see that over these next couple of weeks. You're probably going to see it on Saturday when Ohio State, assuming that they go up by many touchdowns, you're going to need guys like that to play, and you're going to need guys like that to play throughout the course of the year when inevitably things are going to flare up.
One more thing before I bring Stefan into this. How does that change the equation going forward in the future, especially when you're talking about a recruiting class where you've already got 2 guys committed and maybe they want to add a 3rd or maybe a transfer portal guy? Is that as urgent when it feels like James Peoples is maybe solidifying himself as the future face of the room?
That's a good question. I think it may be less urgent, but I think there still needs to be some kind of urgency there, because you're going to have James Peoples, and he can look great, but you're assuming that Travion and Quinshon are going to be gone. So James Peoples could look great. Sam Williams-Dixon, you don't really know, and I'm not sure how much you're going to get to know. I mean, they're going to know a lot more than we do because they're going to see him at practice every day. So we're not going to really get to see Sam Williams-Dixon. You've got 2 freshmen coming in, Isaiah West and Bo Jackson, who are currently committed. But that's only 4, and I don't think you want half of your running back room to be true freshmen. I don't think you want half of your your scholarship running backs to be true freshmen. Now you do have TC Caffey. I think you can come back. He's rehabbing a knee injury, so he's out for the year. You could put him on scholarship next year. Maybe that's 5, but I don't know if that's okay. So I think you still want to add somebody. It might not impact recruiting. It might impact the transfer portal. So there's a whole other thing, that we could go into. We could make this a whole other video, but I do think adding someone to the recruiting class or to the transfer portal class is going to be paramount. I don't think that urgency has really gone down all that much, but I do think James Peoples has definitely made you feel better about where you're headed after this season.
Walk on Rashid Cisse, also a part of that mix as well. And technically speaking right now, half of the running back room, true freshman. Stefan, is the dream of Caleb Downs playing running back at all this season, has it died?
Yeah, I think so. I think part of that is because of James Peoples, but I think
You're saying he killed it.
Well, kind of, yeah. Because when the Caleb talk, I mean, Ryan Day had brought it up, earlier this year about the potential of that, but it seems like that kind of ramped up when TC went down, and we're kind of looking at all right, like, who do you have after Travion and Quinshon? Like, does Caleb Downs maybe need to be in that mix? Is he one of the better options there? And then James Peoples emerging, you're like, as Ryan Day said today, Caleb Downs is focused on being the best safety in America, because I think that's all you need from him right now is to be the best safety in America, be one of the best safeties in America, because you do have some depth now at running back. If someone like Travion or Quinshon goes down, or if James Peoples goes down, now it's maybe looking like a little bit of a different conversation. But when everyone's healthy and when you've got 3 decent options that you can trust and 2, All-American options that you can trust, then you don't need to risk stuff like that. Like we talked about, it's what Travis Hunter is doing in Colorado is very hard to do. Even and he's doing 50-50. Like now we're talking about even doing less than that. It's still hard to do, right? Caleb Downs coming in for kind of 10 snaps or whatever the number was that he had mentioned is still really hard to do, and you don't need to focus on that right now. Maybe Caleb is a piece that is part of the offense and helps out next year. But right now, I just don't think it's something that you have to risk. Like, what's the purpose, especially early in the season here, of having Caleb risk something when you feel like you've got some depth now at the running back room?
So you've heard it here first. Caleb Downs is going to be a running back in 2025. That's Stefan Krajisnik who said that. That's what he said. That's what he said. How does this open things up for Chip Kelly as a creative offensive play caller and a creative guy just in general in terms of what he can do with those top 2 guys now that it feels like you've got a third guy you can also rely on?
Yeah, I know it gets you excited, but it does open a door for some 2 running back sets, right? Just because you don't have to worry. I don't know if it's so much a concern of like keeping the guys fresh. Like Travion and Quinshawn could both come in for a 2 running back set, and the next play Quinshawn could play. I mean, Quinshawn plays consecutive snaps. Travion can play consecutive snaps. Not that you have to go back and forth, but maybe you can have a drive where you go, hey, we're just going to go 2 running back sets, for majority of the drive, and the next drive we can have James People out there for a few snaps just to give Travion and Quinshawn a blow where they need it. So it's just, when you have depth, when you have options, we talk about on the offensive line, the things they can do with Donovan Jackson coming back now. Well, when you have options at wide receiver, if someone goes down, you have options. Like, it just opens so much more. When you're as creative as someone like Chip Kelly is, or when you are Chip Kelly, it just opens the door for so many things.
I don't think Chip Kelly's ever had this many options in his career before. We've seen different variations of what his offenses can look like, right? What he was doing at Oregon, what he was doing at UCLA. Those were 2 very different things than what they were doing. What he was doing in Philadelphia in the NFL before things went kind of awry. But that was more because of a personnel thing than it was because of what he could do schematically. He's got 3 running backs, so he could do a 2 running back set if he wants to. It sounds like he's got 4 tight ends. So he can go 4 tight ends on the field, which we've seen. He's got 4 wide receivers, so we've seen 10 personnel. Everything is on the table, and you can maximize it. And it feels like there's enough diversification in terms of the individual players and their skill sets that you can really get some things cooking. We've seen 10 personnel. We've seen 4 tight ends. Maybe we see 2 running backs on the field. 3. Heck, maybe we see 5 wide receivers on the field. Who knows? But it does seem like Ohio State's got the depth and a guy who's creative enough to maximize that depth week-on-week basis as we see this offense continue to build on itself. We'll continue to have this conversation on Buckeye Talk. Go listen out wherever you find podcasts and get the text 614-350-3315. 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. I'm Steven. That's Stefan. That's Andrew. We just talked with Chip Kelly, Ryan Day, and Will Howard. We'll see you later.